Tonight in 9 News, vaccine freedoms, special privileges for fully jabbed Victorians, the first step on our long road to freedom. No jab, no work. Construction workers ordered to get inoculated within the week. Testing times in Ballarat, while Shepparton celebrates relaxed restrictions. Australia joins forces with the UK and the US to launch a nuclear submarine fleet. Porsche driver Richard Pusey back behind bars, accused of assaulting police. And fans rejoice as footy's hottest ticket sells out in minutes.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. Fully vaccinated families and friends can reunite outdoors for up to 4 hours a day from Saturday. It's among a suite of rule changes unveiled by the Premier that will come into effect as Victoria ticks over to 70% first dose. But the curfew is here to stay. State political reporter Mark Santamartino leads tonight's coverage.
For weeks, we've watched it slowly approaching, and now the number 70's passing, Melbourne and the Premier can finally get on board.
We said that when we got to 70% first dose, we'd be able to do some modest but meaningful things. And that's exactly what we're announcing today. Doubling the distance you can go from your home, doubling the time you can spend out of your home.
Starting Saturday, the travel bubble grows from 5 to 10 kilometres for Melburnians and residents locked down in Ballarat. Each of us gets an additional 2 hours to spend outdoors. You'll still have to wear a mask, but picnics are back on the menu. Up to 5 adults can join in if they're fully vaccinated. Those with one or no dose can only gather in pairs.
If you're fully vaccinated, that number goes from 2 to 5. But it is a maximum of 2 households.
Police won't be patrolling every park, and given there's no official way to verify a person's fully vaccinated yet,
there's a degree of good faith in this. I'm asking people to do the right thing.
Either way, it was a welcome incentive for the hundreds lining up today.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yay! I'm excited to just get out.
For those who do, skate parks and outdoor gyms are reopening. 2 people can be coached by a personal trainer outdoors, and for anyone looking to buy or rent a home, appointments to inspect empty properties will also be allowed.
Of course, you'd always like to do more, but we have more cases today than we've had for a very long time.
Victoria cracked 500 infections for the first time this year, pushing active cases well above 4,000. 182 of those are in hospital, only 1 is fully vaccinated. 51 are getting intensive care, 29 need machines to breathe.
We're not at 70% double dose, we're at 70% single dose, and there is a big difference.
Thanks to more than 100,000 Victorians getting vaccinated, we'll hit that first dose milestone sometime today. But only 42% of over 16s are fully vaccinated, and as such, the Premier says the curfew is staying.
There are probably a lot of people out there who want to go shopping at 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, no, you're not. That's not what people do at 1 a.m. This works, and I've got no advice to take it off, and therefore it remains on.
Same goes for playground rules. Parents still can't remove their masks to eat or drink coffee, nor can people planning an outdoor pub crawl.
We might all need a coffee by the end of this, or something stronger.
That could change come Sunday's roadmap. What won't is the chance of watching the AFL Grand Final outdoors at a pub.
Not unless there's a very big change in advice, and I don't believe that's going to be coming between now and the roadmap's release on Sunday. It wouldn't be safe. We'll be back to talk about what the rest of September, October and November looks like, and indeed beyond that.
But Mark, it's a raw deal for younger Victorians.
Pfizer bookings for under 40s only opened at state-run hubs like this one, Pete, 3 weeks ago. And given there's a 6-week wait at the moment for a second dose, it means that even those that got in on the very first day are now going to be forced to wait another 3 weeks before they can enjoy a 5-person picnic. The Premier took a swipe at the Prime Minister for not ordering enough and not getting enough vaccines into Victoria when I pointed that out. We'll put the question to Brett Sutton tomorrow. We're told that he was busy today working on that roadmap. Pete?
Mark Santamartino reporting there. Construction workers have a week to get a shot in their arm if they want to remain on the job. It's the third group subjected to a government jab mandate, and bosses will have to enforce it. Stephanie Anderson reports.
They operate on deadlines often measured in years. Now construction workers have been given a week to get vaxxed.
I think it's the way out. I think, yeah, they just have to do that.
That's hard because I do believe sort of freedom of choice should be there.
Until today, only hotel quarantine and aged care employees had a government-driven jab mandate. But after 18 months of being classified essential and a surging spread rate in our third wave, everyone from multiplex to mum and dad builders have to have a vaccinated team.
I know what's happened. I don't like anything being forced on anyone, but I mean, we're in a unique situation.
The deadline is midnight next Thursday, with the onus on employers to check for proof of first dose.
We know that our members will adapt. We know that we've got the technology around in play to already check for ticketing and licensing.
There's no official stats on how many of the 320,000 strong Victorian workforce have been jabbed so far, the union boss offering this to those who are hesitant.
I notice out there seems to be a lot of professors, but we'll listen to the ones that actually got a degree attached to their name.
Identified as the super spreading spot on site, tea rooms have to close. Food and drink only allowed to be consumed outdoors, while travelling between Metro Melbourne and regional Victoria for jobs has been banned, effective from midnight tomorrow.
There will be inevitable delays.
And how it's all enforced still seems to be a work in progress.
It'll be a joint effort, but the requirement is that the employer does not have unvaccinated people on site.
I don't want to see a situation where, you know, the poor worker couldn't get in. He's tried everything to get in and can't get in and he's missing out on work.
Missing out on a chance to come home is still a reality for Victorians stuck over the border.
We can't leave thousands of Victorians stranded in New South Wales indefinitely.
Meanwhile, selling homes just got a little easier for real estate agents who say getting back to face-to-face work is a win.
It was really exciting to be able to call our team, who some we've had on reduced hours, to tell them that they'd be back at full time next week.
New buyers and end-of-lease inspections will be allowed by appointment only from Saturday, but the agent has to stay outside and the regular occupants must stay away.
I think we're going to see a real rush, and I'm expecting really good numbers viewing properties this weekend.
A rush on picnics is also predicted, but the ban on strolling the golf course under the same conditions has stuck, and Mark Allen is teeing off.
It's fair income crazy town. When you see people walking the streets in twos, when you see them in pelotons riding their bikes together without masks.
Personal trainers working with client pairs has been welcomed, but there's not a lot of freedom muscle flexing for businesses across the board just yet.
Hopefully, just hopefully, we might get some more easing at 80% single vaxxed as well.
But details like that are still a few days away. We know that the government's roadmap out of lockdown 6 will communicate what vaccination level coverage is needed to trigger those freedoms that Victorians desperately want back. There is a lot of hope that more flexibility for business won't be too far away. So, Pete, I think it's fair to say that all eyes will be on the Premier's announcement on Sunday.
OK, thank you, Steph. The snap lockdown in Ballarat has overwhelmed testing facilities and frustrated business owners who fear the restrictions will be extended. Meanwhile, Shepparton has belted Delta and is celebrating. Adam Hegarty with the story.
Whether it's lockdown or a testing queue, there's no end in sight.
It's pretty long. I can only see what's in my mirrors.
After 5 hours, they told us that's the cut-off. And yeah, send us away.
Despite 4 new testing clinics in Ballarat, it's testing nurses' patients, and the visiting COVID commander knows it.
If you haven't got symptoms and you haven't been to an exposure site, don't worry. Stay home. We can get you tested over the next few days.
That will be crucial, with more exposure in construction, supermarkets and restaurants, and 2 new infections. One a household contact, but the other, alarmingly, a mystery, leaving Ballarat with 6 in total.
This unlinked case has been infectious since last Tuesday and has had a number of exposures across Ballarat. They are in a different part of the city.
So most businesses stay shut, and they're not impressed.
How ridiculous, 6 cases, yet Geelong has something like 18 cases and they're open. We have 6 cases and a population of over 115,000. The maths just don't make sense.
If luck's on their side, they'll end up like Shepparton.
Yeah, look, I think we have shown how to do it. We've belted Delta.
Where the victory bells are the phones ringing.
Crazy with the phone calls, yeah.
they don't stop.
Shepparton joins the rest of regional Victoria and will enjoy relaxed restrictions. On top of that, all of regional Victoria will be able to go to the pool, the gym and use tour transport.
We're all loving being back and we'll be able to pay the bills now.
The irony is Ballarat's fate depends on test results, and considering the turnout, they'll be delayed. The lines have been so long that here at the new Victoria Park testing site, they've been forced to temporarily close at times so they can get through this backlog. Here, at the back of the queue, the wait is up to 4 hours.
We've currently just suspended our site due to being at capacity.
10,000 vaccine doses are also on their way, but not in time to help this dose of lockdown reality.
A lot of cancelled bookings, a lot of lost revenue, so there's just a real sense of heartbreak, I guess, throughout the community.
In Ballarat, Adam Hegarty, 9 News.
Australia has turned to its oldest allies to bolster our military with nuclear submarines. As the threat of China looms large, the United States and Britain will share some of their most tightly guarded secrets. Here's political editor Chris Uhlmann.
A president flanked by two prime ministers in an extraordinary early morning announcement.
Today, we're taking another historic step to deepen and formalise cooperation among all three of our nations.
To declare a new tri-nation defence pact that marries the three in an awkward name.
Known as AUKUS, with the aim of working hand in glove to preserve security and stability in the Indo-Pacific.
And deliver an historic weapon to Australia's military armoury.
The first major initiative of AUKUS will be to deliver a nuclear-powered submarine fleet for Australia.
Needed because these are dangerous days.
Our strategic environment has deteriorated.
As a new aggressive superpower rises.
This is all about China. This is about the consequential democracies of the world reacting to an aggressive China, which is seeking to push those democracies out of the Indo-Pacific.
The United States has only shared its nuclear submarine technology once before, with the United Kingdom in 1958.
This is arguably some of the most sensitive technology that the US has.
Nuclear submarines have some big advantages over diesel-fuelled subs. Powered by a nuclear reactor, they are faster and can remain underwater for months, cover vast distances and do not need to refuel in their 30-year lifespan. Buying at least 8 nuclear subs means the $90 billion contract for 12 conventional French submarines has been sunk.
Of course, they're disappointed.
A French government statement said terminating the contract at a time we are facing unprecedented challenges in the Indo-Pacific shows a lack of coherence that France can only acknowledge and regret. $2.5 billion has already been spent on the French contracts and billions more in compensation will have to be paid.
We need to know the full cost of the abandonment of the existing program.
Labor will support the nuclear submarines as long as the government sticks by bans on nuclear arms and nuclear power.
This is not about acquiring nuclear weapons. A civil nuclear power capability here in Australia is not required.
We will always act in the national interest.
But former Labor Prime Minister Paul Keating unleashed on the deal, saying it would witness a further dramatic loss of Australian sovereignty.
I don't share Prime Minister Keating's view, and I prefer to be in the company of John Curtin and Robert Menzies when it comes to this issue.
The subs may be based at HMAS Stirling in Perth, but the first is more than a decade away. They will still largely be built in Adelaide, but the nuclear power system will have to be made in the UK or the US, and there is the yet-to-be-solved problem of where spent fuel rods will be stored.
All of those are issues where we will be engaging with our US and UK partners.
The government says this is about keeping the peace.
And to contribute to the stability and security of our region that will benefit all in our region.
While the Greens are preparing for war.
The Greens will fight this dangerous move tooth and nail because it brings Australia closer to the brink of conflict.
The new partnership will also be used to rapidly build Australia's capability in artificial intelligence, missiles, cyber warfare and underwater drones as defence spending soars.
Australia has been pushed so far by the Chinese government that it kind of has no other option but to consider these sort of steps.
Because China has changed.
The relatively benign security environment that Australia has enjoyed over many decades in our region is behind us.
And difficult days lie ahead. Chris Uhlmann, 9 News.
Now let's examine the fallout. First to Chris in Canberra. Chris, an angry reaction from China in the past few minutes.
Yes, Pete, Beijing has reacted with fury, saying the pact gravely undermines regional peace and security. But the Australian government would say it's responding to Beijing's own massive military build-up, its occupation and militarisation of the South China Sea, its fishing armada that's illegally scraping the oceans bare, industrial-scale cyber attacks, imprisoning our citizens on trumped-up charges, trying to buy influence in our politics, bullying in our universities and using economic coercion when it doesn't get its own way. The government believes it's been left with little choice but to act in Australia's defence. But Pete, it isn't without risk, and there will be a furious debate in the days, weeks and months ahead.
OK, thank you, Chris. US correspondent Michael Genovese joins me now live from the White House. Michael, what's been the response in the United States?
Well, it's a big deal for the US to hand over its nuclear technology, but Pete, this isn't charity. This is very much in the best interests of Team USA, the world's biggest military, now sharpening its weapons a long way from home in a region it believes could soon become volatile. The Biden administration is fixated on countering any form of aggression coming from China. This is serious stuff, which is why so many people are confused just how casual the US president was at points during today's major announcement.
And I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it, Mr. Prime Minister.
Debate now over whether US President forgot Scott Morrison's name. The leaders will meet one-on-one, face-to-face for the first time here in Washington, D.C. next week. Pete.
OK, thank you, Michael. Well, it's no surprise France has reacted angrily to the decision. The official line is that it's regrettable, but Brett McLeod says a former ambassador has pulled no punches.
A COVID handshake in June, and now Scott Morrison is being accused of stabbing the French president in the back. Just days before their meeting, the Prime Minister was hatching a plan with his US and UK counterparts to torpedo Australia's submarine deal with France. It was making waves in Paris.
L'Australie n'achètera pas de sous-marins français et leur préfère les submersibles américains.
On Twitter, a French diplomat took aim. The world is a jungle. France has just been reminded this bitter truth by the way the US and the UK have stabbed her in the back in Australia. C'est la vie. A friendship strained, but the Prime Minister confident it can be salvaged.
I hope to see us continue once we move past what is obviously a very difficult and disappointing decision for France.
It was 2016 when the then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull signed up with the French to become submarine partners. Great to be working with you. Adelaide, chosen as the sub-hub, workers employed by the French now left high and dry.
Some of them are over in France already, doing some work on the new contract over there, so they might not even be aware that they've lost their jobs.
France will be rewarded with a few billion for unfinished business, softening the blow after being blindsided by an ally in favour of two others. So no bonhomie from Paris to Canberra anytime soon, but on this side of the English Channel, well, the deal's been seen as a win for Boris Johnson, elevating him on the international stage. And notable too that with this subs deal, plus the Pfizer arrangement of 4 million vaccines going from here to Australia and the free trade agreement that Boris Johnson and Scott Morrison negotiated, the British Prime Minister clearly sees some benefit in having even closer ties to the country where he spent his gap year. Pete?
OK, thank you, Brett McLeod. The remaining AFL Grand Final tickets were snapped up within minutes today, and despite Western Australia's COVID-free status, the AFL is remaining vigilant in the lead-up to the big day. Live to Etan Woolley in Perth. Etan, what measures are the league taking?
Well, Pete, the grand final might be little more than a week away, but the AFL is certainly taking nothing for granted. The two teams, Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs, will be separated at the Brownlow Medal. There's no grand final parade, and those two clubs have this week again been reminded of their responsibilities. But as you mentioned, the fans aren't showing the same caution today, snapping up those remaining tickets in quick time. Out of quarantine and with a grand final haircut, the boss was beaming, even if his mood wasn't matched by the weather.
And we're here in, frankly, a state that is not delivering today on the brochure that in the presentation when they pitched for it was blue skies and 23 degrees.
But amid the relief of making it this far, Gillan McLachlan admits he won't truly relax until the first bounce next Saturday night.
It's the way we are wired now. We are here, and we've got through the last two seasons by playing the percentages.
The final 10,000 tickets went on sale to the public today.
Just want to be a part of the history here. So.
Yeah, it's never going to come back here again.
After 180,000 people logged on at the same time, they sold out in just 9 minutes.
I've got one seat!
Hey! The Dogs, for their part, have dealt with the stakes of grand final week before, and Luke Beveridge hopes that'll hold them in good stead as the big day draws closer.
There's some familiarity to it, Eton, there's no doubt, for some of the players who have done it before. So I think it counts. It might be just that small marginal gain that might make a little bit of a difference.
In the meantime, locals have been told to make the most of it.
Take the whole week off, I would. That's what everyone else does in Melbourne. Doesn't seem to do a hell lot of work. Just have a cracking time.
In Perth, Ayrton Woolley, 9 News.
Now with a look ahead to more sport, Tony Jones.
Sorry, we're having a week off, though.
Apparently,
according to Gil, he's running the show. Anyway, speaking of that show, it might be over there in the West, but there's still plenty of work being done here with a touch of irony for the Bulldogs. Alicia Mewling explains.
Well, Tony, it is just by chance that a number of Bulldogs cheer squad members actually live in Beveridge. So here we are in regional Victoria as the final touches are being put on this all-important grand final banner. Now, as we know, the message on the grand final banner, it is a very tight state secret, very tightly guarded, but hopefully I may have garnered a bit of information and we'll bring you that in sport. Tony?
All right, thanks for that, Alicia. Also coming up tonight, a plum job for Brad Scott, but no, it's not with the Blues. More upheaval in the Collingwood boardroom. We'll cross live for that explanation. Storm admit they're missing Cam. We'll explain just why. And Dan draws on the Demons for inspiration. Dan Ricciardo, that is. That's sport for tonight, please.
All right.
No, it's not actually. I'll come back a little later on.
OK, good. I'm looking forward to it already. Thank you, Tony. Serial pest Richard Pusey is tonight back behind bars, accused of assaulting police officers after a noise complaint at his home. That story is next. Plus, the political aide accused of raping Brittany Higgins enters his plea. And the Deputy Mayor's bold plan to turn Docklands into Circular Quay.